Welcome, everybody. It's NBA Draft Lottery Night. What a night it's going to be. This is one of the best nights of the year. This is one of the absolute best nights of the year in the entire NBA calendar. I think there's the finals, of course. There's opening night of the NBA season. That's amazing, of course. There's trade deadline time. There's the draft itself. And then there's the draft lottery. This is the time that I wait for all season long, because this is where we actually get clarity on what's going to be happening, what we're going to be talking about for the next 2 months, the next 3 months into the off season in summer league. This determines what we're going to be talking about for years to come as well. So I'm very excited tonight because what we have this year, and thank you everybody for joining early in the show here. Please be sure to contribute. But what we have here is one of those pivotal drafts. Cooper Flag, number one pick in the draft. Where is he going to go? What franchise is he going to change? I can't wait. Adi, thanks for participating in the chat. Sean, Orlando, already talking about trade ideas. Sean in the YouTube chat, going crazy already. We don't even know where the picks are going to be, Sean. We don't even know where everything's going to be. But with Cooper Flag, I am curious where you guys think is the best fit for him, because earlier today I'm preparing for the mock draft and everything, and I'm trying to figure out, hey, what team would be ideal for him? I talked with Tom Haverstraw on the pod about this last week, and he says, Charlotte would be the team that would be the best landing spot for him in terms of this team deserves it. But we didn't talk about what's the best fit for Cooper. What team would be perfect for Cooper? We got Matthew in the chat saying much love from Utah. Obviously, we know what you want. Zadok saying kind of hope it's Utah. It feels like a lot of Utah people in the chat is my impression just from so far. We get a poll on the YouTube chat as well. Who is winning the lottery tonight? But who is the best fit for Cooper Flag is what I'm curious about here. Who else we got? We got BR. San Antonio, but people would riot. I'll tell you what, when it comes to Cooper, best fits for him. Are we actually sure the Spurs would keep Cooper Flag rather than trade him for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure about that? Because I'm not totally certain about that. I think there's a chance that Cooper would be on the move if the Spurs were to land the number one pick. But ultimately, look, man, that'd be the most fascinating potential result, I think, tonight. If San Antonio or Houston lands number one, if one of those teams land the number one pick, what are they going to end up doing? Are they going to trade that pick for Giannis? And we have the odds on the screen here. Spurs, they have a 6.7% chance of landing the number one pick. That's because they have a cut of odds from Atlanta, which has the 14th best odds to land the number one pick. They have 6.7%. The Rockets have only a 3.8% chance, courtesy of the Phoenix Suns with their very sad and depressing and horrible season. I mean, if you're a Suns fan in here, what are you doing? Spend your night doing something that makes you happy. What are you doing in the chat if you're a Suns fan? Well, why do you want to feel this misery? If you are a Suns fan in the chat, hit one. I want to know if you're a Suns fan in the chat and tell me why the hell are you here right now to watch Houston potentially get a top 4 pick. Brett said, can Cooper still return to Duke if a team he doesn't like wins the lottery? It's not going to happen, Brett. Cooper is fully committed to staying in the NBA draft lottery. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So honestly, it's not even worth thinking about. It's just not a possibility. But what is a possibility, sure, is that, hey, maybe a team lands the number one pick and Cooper ends up saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to go there. The old Eli Manning type of thing. And we've seen this in the NBA. Last year, Alex Sarr didn't really want to work out for the Atlanta Hawks. So he didn't want to go there. So he ended up not going there. They didn't want to take him. So I think you're going to see maybe Cooper try to steer his way to a destination. But ultimately, look, man, of these teams, look at the odds on screen here. Are any of these teams a place that Cooper wouldn't want to go? Like, I mean, New Orleans, maybe after some of their failures in the past, maybe I could see him not wanting to go there. I think that's possible. But let me know in the chat. Are there any teams that you think who is actually? Here's how we ask the question: who is the team Cooper would be most likely to say, "I'm not going to your team, trade me"? What team is most likely of these teams with the odds on screen? Who's most likely? I think it's probably New Orleans. It's probably New Orleans would be who I say is most likely of those teams, is my guess. Portland says Himmy Johns. Oliver says Wizards, lol. DJ says Pelicans. Sneaker says Hornets, big no. Hind. Pelicans, no. King says Hakeem, the real Hakeem Olajuwon in the chat. Ethan over on X says the Wizards. Okay, a lot of Kings, Wizards. Yeah, the Kings are so unlikely, though. I mean, 0.8% chance. Can you imagine if the Kings actually moved up all the way to number one? That would be absolutely crazy. So what we're going to be doing here, thank you guys for joining me early. Really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, give this video a like. If you're watching on X or Facebook, please heart it as well. It does help us out with reaching more people. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. What we're going to be doing is reacting live here as we go. Maybe you have the broadcast on your second screen and you got me on your phone or your iPad or your computer. Really do appreciate that. If you do, we're going to be reacting live to what happens with the draft lottery as the picks go and as they're revealed. And then we're going to do a full first round mock draft. So we're going to go live, all 30 picks in the first round, 1 to 30. That's what we're going to do. It's also going to be up on Yahoo Sports on my NBA draft guide there. You'll be able to listen to it on my podcast feed later tonight. I'm recording with Tom Havastro after the Celtics and Knicks game. So we'll be talking about some of our draft takeaways and talking about that game, and you'll hear the mock there if you can't hear the full thing here. But I'm excited to kind of interact with you guys as we go through this mock because, look, man, like some of these teams are going to get screwed tonight. Every year since they flattened the odds in 2019, there's been a team that's fallen, that had like top 2, top 3 odds that's fallen out. So there's a very real possibility here that happens again to Washington. If you're a Wizards fan, I'm sorry. Like, it could happen. It could happen to you if you're a Jazz fan, despite all these expectations. But another thing I'm curious about today, can we pull up the profile for Cedric Coward? I have him ranked 14th on my big board. And I'm curious for people in the chat. I assume a lot of you guys are like hardcore draft people. You study these guys and you have a lot of people who you have your sleepers, you have your guys you don't like. Cedric Coward out of Washington State, for me, is the guy that I think is an absolute beast. And he could go a lot higher than a lot of people think. Cedric Coward, he played at a D3 school, then he transferred to a mid-major, and then he transferred to a high major, Washington State, and now he has a scholarship at Duke. He could go to Duke next year. I don't believe that's going to happen. Cedric Coward, I have him 14th on my big board. Today at the NBA Draft Combine, he measured at 6'5" without shoes. He's 6'7" with shoes, with a 7'2" wingspan, so he's +9 with his wingspan over his height. He's an elite shooter. As you see on screen, 40% of his spot-up threes were made. He's a versatile defender. He's a high IQ, high character guy. Cedric Coward is my sleeper. I want to know, you guys in the chat, who's like your guy? Who's your guy in this year's draft class? Because I know we all have them. We all have our guys we don't like, but who's your guy this year that you really have full belief in being a steal or a guaranteed success deep into the future in an NBA career? Because that's Cedric Coward for me, among others. We all have multiple. But let me know in the chat who you got as your guy in this year's draft. I'll look for your comments as we pop up here. Walter Clayton Jr., says Sean. Walter Clayton. I feel like he's going to be a lot of people's guys after what he did at Florida this year. That's a good one, Sean. I like the Walter Clayton choice. Knipple. I'm with you, Hyde. That's a good one. Come on, Malawach. Man, Malawach, dude, I'll tell you what. He had a crappy last game for Duke, but I still got belief in that dude, man. I still think long-term, there's some skill on offense with him as a shooter and as a passer that I think is untapped. Brandon also said Con. We got two people saying Essengay from France. I mean, you guys, if you followed my work, you know I love French prospects, good for good or bad reasons. Essengay is a good one. 6'9", versatile, very fluid with the ball. Like you never want to pull out the Giannis comp. Let's pull up Essengay's scouting report on screen here. But with Essengay, he's like the type of guy who I feel like a team drafts him, you're going to have a split fan base. You're going to have some people in the fan base that are like, why are we taking this dude who's raw, who is unproven, who's not going to be able to help us right away? And then you're going to have people that are going to be like, okay, this dude, you don't want to use the Giannis comp, but he's big and he's fluid and he has those like weird scoop finishes. You know that scoop finish Giannis does near the basket where he kind of brings the ball low to high at the rim? Essengay kind of has that. And I think look, dude, I would not use the Giannis comparison, but the fluidity and the skill is there that I think he's worth a gamble for some team in this year's draft class. Noah said Maxime Reynaud, another French guy. I mean, I can't argue with you there. Sean said Maxime as well. He measured pretty well. I wish his wingspan was a little longer at the draft combine. He measured at 7'2". Carter Bryant said Thad. Ryan said Danny Wolf. Brandon said Khan is the best shooter. I think that's very fair. Lynch over on X said Kobe Brea, Walmart, Klay Thompson. I'll tell you what, man, in my mock draft, I'm doing the full 2 rounds over on the draft guide. Kobe Brea I have in the 30s. I just think like somebody's going to take him. Shooting is such a valuable skill. You're going to see him go early. Free Litka. What do you like about Dink Pate? I think Dink Pate stinks, dude. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Dink Pate. And that's like a deep cut for people in this chat. Dink Pate played 2 years in the G League. I don't think he's any good. I see the upside, but I'm not a big fan. Beer, watching all the way from Scotland. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. All the way from Scotland. Hell yeah, man. If you haven't given this video a like on YouTube, please do so. It does help us out. Give us a heart on X or Facebook if you're watching there as well, please. It does help us out a lot. Thank you guys for joining early. If in case you just joined the room, in 9 to 10 minutes, we're going to have the draft lottery revealed, going to begin to reveal. They're going to do that over on ESPN. We might be your second screen. Appreciate you guys joining. What we're going to do is we're going to react live to what happens, and then we're going to do a mock draft. The full first round. Going to be crazy. I'm going to lose my voice by the time we're done with it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Ryan asked, thoughts on Noah Penda? I like Noah Penda. I worry about the shot. I think Noah Penda, for people who don't know him, Noah Penda is like Boris Diaw. He has basically the same exact build as Boris Diaw. He's like 6'6", 6'7", a little chunky. He can move the ball. He's got a high IQ. You know, he's a very lovable prospect, but the shot, like he's a sub 70% guy from the free throw line. He's a sub 30% guy from 3-point range or hovers around there. So I got my questions with him with what he'll actually be in the NBA unless he fixes that jumper. That's why I have him ranked 29th, a little bit lower than I would like to rank him. Yeah, I want to have him higher. But I can't get there without being able to trust the jumper. That's where I'm at with him right now. What do you guys think about? I mean, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of French prospects in this year's draft class, a lot of French guys in this year's draft class. And Penda is one of those types of guys that I think could go a lot higher than people think. He's having a good season overseas, but the shot, we'll see. Manuel from Germany. Hell yeah, man. Thank you. From Georgia, says George. Wow. Did you move to Georgia? Did your parents, did they think they were funny? Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys watching from overseas, and no matter where you're watching from, for that matter. Really does mean a lot. We got the draft lottery in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. They're going to start revealing the order. That's coming up really, really, really soon. And so we'll be reacting to that. Thoughts on Tahad Pettiford, asked Emma Kirkpatrick. Emma, I love Pettiford. He didn't have such a great last game for Auburn, but I think that dude is an absolute baller. He reminds me so much of Mike Conley with that offhand right-handed floater because he's a lefty player. I mean, look, I'd love to interview him. I'll be at the draft combine this week, and I have a lot of interviews lined up with draft prospects. I do not have Pettiford yet, but I'd love to ask him, did you just rip that move from Mike Conley? Because I think he did. I think he stole it from Mike Conley, and why would he not? He's got like this. He's 6 foot flat. He needs to have those type of quirky finishes around the rim, so I think he did take it. Jeremy said, draft Yaxel Lendenborg, profit. Yeah, I think that's a good bet, especially in the late first round. Stuart, so nice hearing from all the fellow Europeans. I agree. It's awesome. Basketball truly is global. What games are you playing? Only Warzone. That's the only game I play. I'll play GTA 6 in a year when that comes out. Vomat is Vo Smash. Are older players still looked at differently than younger prospects? That's a good question. I mean, I think it's a team-to-team thing, honestly. There are certain teams that don't believe in upside, but then you see guys like a Desmond Bane. He's always who comes to mind first to me. He's like a 4th year or 5th year senior when he leaves school, goes to Memphis, and he keeps ascending. Sometimes guys are on different developmental trajectories. That's just the reality of it. Sean, if Philly wins the lottery, say the name KOC. Can I say the name anyway? I'll wait to say the name. I don't want to be accused of jinxing anything. I'll wait to say the name, Sean. I'm surprised you're not at the live show with Spike and Mike. Jet, yes, I would have liked to seen him in there this year as well. Waffle from Coyote Ugly in San Antonio. What's Coyote Ugly? Never heard of it. Would you trade the number 1 pick for Giannis? This is a good chat question for all of you. Chris asked this question on YouTube. Would you trade the number 1 pick for Giannis? Obviously, this is dependent on the team. Like, it depends on what team you are. Like, if you're the Washington Wizards, no, I'm not going to trade Cooper Flag for Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're not going anywhere. We're not a championship team. But if I'm the Houston Rockets, if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, I'm thinking about it. I'm really, really thinking about it. I'm trying not to trade the number 1 pick for Giannis. I'm trying to keep the number 1 pick. But I don't think the Bucks are going to trade Giannis unless they get the number 1 pick back from the Spurs or the Rockets. So, like, that's one of the big things we're looking for today, man. I know, like, there's a lot of people on social today who remarked about Shams' reporting, saying, like, oh, he's thinking about it. He may be available. This is a non-story. Of course it's a story. When Giannis Antetokounmpo is looking at his options, of course it's a story. Like, what are we even talking about here? He doesn't need to outright demand a trade. That's another story. But it is a story if he's thinking about asking out or he's looking at other teams. It is a story, especially for it to drop on the morning of the draft lottery, where some of these teams, let's bring up the odds on screen here if we can. Some of these types of teams are going to be suitors for him, especially the Spurs, especially the Rockets, as I've been talking about on my podcast the last couple of weeks, ever since the Bucks got eliminated. Of course it's a story. So, hey, look, I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Whoever gets number 1 today, it could change everything for the years to come in the NBA. We're going to be getting started very, very shortly. They are currently announcing the people on stage who are representing the teams. I got Hakeem Olajuwon for the Rockets. Oh, that's awesome. Hakeem. We also have Hakeem Olajuwon in the YouTube chat as well. Hakeem. I don't think he's really watched the Rockets. He was asked, what does this mean for the Rockets? He's like, we got a young team. It would mean a lot. We have good players. It's like, really? What? Got Mitch Johnson, the new head coach, up there for the Spurs. I'm a little surprised they hired Mitch Johnson so quickly. Just being real. I don't think Mitch. Are there any Spurs fans in the chat? hit one if you're a Spurs fan in the chat, because, dude, I don't think Mitch Johnson was that good last year. They got Jared McCain up there for the Sixers. That's a good luck charm. Zion Williamson is up there for the Pelicans. That's not a good luck charm for New Orleans. Oh, my goodness. Whew. Sending Zion up there, kind of weird. Kangs, says Winter in the chat. We got one Spurs fan, 2 Spurs, 3, 4, 5. We got a lot of Spurs fans in the chat. Thank you guys for joining me. Appreciate it tonight, guys. Thank you. Hornets fan from Spain says, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm sorry. I'm horrible at name. Turso. I'll just call you TVV. I'm sorry. I'm surprised the Pelicans set Zion up there. Are we sure he's even going to be on the team next year? I mean, it's weird to me that they would put Zion up there. I guess they had limited options. But kind of weird they put Zion up there. Kind of strange. Kind of strange. All right. Mark Tatum at the podium. Here we go. All right. Spurs at 14. That's as expected. 13. Atlanta Hawks. That's as expected. As expected. Chicago Bulls at 12. That's normal. Everything's chalk so far. So at 11, Dallas is expected here. Oh, Portland! Dallas moves up. Dallas is moving up. It's fixed. Frozen envelope. Oh my God. Houston. So Houston is not moving up. Wow. Dallas is moving up. Oh my God. 9th pick. Toronto, San Antonio's moving up. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do we know that for sure yet? We don't know that for sure yet. Brooklyn at 8. That's expected. New Orleans. Oh my God. We got chaos. Wizard. Oh my God. Yeah, Philly is the guy of the broadcast said Philly's not moving up. They are moving up. Oh my God, Washington. Oh my God, Wizards fans. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Utah. Oh my God. Charlotte, San Antonio, Dallas, Philly. Oh my God. Woo! Oh my God. Wow. Chat. This is crazy. These are 4 really, really interesting teams. First of all, if you're a Jazz fan or you're a Wizards fan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This sucks. This really sucks. I mean, Utah has the number 1 odds and they get jumped by 4 teams. The Wizards have the number 2 odds and they get jumped by 4 teams. Damn. Oh my God. Oh, I just feel disgusted for you. If you're a Charlotte, Philly, San Antonio, or Dallas fan, congratulations. Congratulations. Oh my God. This is nuts, dude. Wow. This is crazy. Woo! How's everybody feeling? How you all feeling? Are you feeling crushed? Are you feeling sad, depressed? How you feeling? Let me know in the chat. This is crazy, y'all. How you doing in the chat, guys? How you doing? It's over, says Elijah. Brian, you might be right. You might be right, Brian. Could be a frozen envelope fixed for the Mavericks. Dude, like these teams, if you were picking 4 of the most interesting possible teams to be in the top 4, I mean, come the hell on. The Mavericks, the Sixers, and the Spurs? Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. I'm not saying it, Sean. I'm not saying the name. Oh, my God. Waffle says Mavs going to get number 1. It's rigged. It might be, but it's not. It's not rigged. I've been in that room. I was in the room the 2019 year. The only way it's fixed is if they have the weighted balls. And, like, you can twist the odds, but you can't fix the odds like you could with a frozen envelope. So I don't think it's fixed. I am anti-conspiracy with the draft lottery. I just think maybe we're living as a simulation, and the most interesting outcome is what we're seeing here. Man, Spurs, Mavericks, Sixers, Hornets. Okay, of these 4 teams, chat, who do you least want to land the number 1 pick, and who do you most want to land the number 1 pick? Let me know in the chat. Spurs, Mavericks, Sixers, Hornets. Timothy says, I want the Spurs to get it. Josh says he wants the Spurs to get number 1 to trade for Giannis. TVV says, Cooper for the Hornets, please. I agree. That would be awesome if the Hornets were to get Cooper Flag. Tom Haverstraw had a great post where he talked about how, in the Shaq draft, they got the number 2 pick, Alonzo Mourning. All right, we're back. We're back. Most Hornets, least Philly, says John. Cooper to the Spurs, says Tariq. That'd be crazy. Wow. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is crazy. I agree. Don't reward Nico. Don't reward Nico. I agree. Don't reward Nico. But it would be crazy if they were rewarded. Nico Chadwick says, Nico doesn't deserve today. Luke says, Hornets need this. I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat. Albert says Spurs again, thumbs down. Waffle says Spurs all the way. I think the Sixers are the team that I'm most hoping for. I don't know. I kind of want San Antonio too. I don't know. I'd be happy with any of those teams except for Dallas. Any of them except for Dallas. Yeah, Whit, you say the Spurs don't deserve it, but how cool would it be to see them with number 1? They might trade number 1 to the Bucks for Giannis. It would be crazy. It creates such a fascinating next couple of months if that were to happen. Thank you guys for joining me in the chat today. After we get the draft lottery determined, we're going to do a live mock draft, 1 to 30 in the first round. And here we go. Mark Tatum's at the podium. Going to find out the order. 4th pick. Charlotte Hornets. Oh, my God. Charlotte gets the 4th pick. So they move down, too. Oh, my God. 3rd pick. Philly. Hey, congrats to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez and all Sixers fans for getting to keep the pick. It's only top 6 protected. Number 2 pick. Oh, the Spurs, the Mavericks get the number 1 pick. You gotta be kidding me. Nico Harrison, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my God. You have got to be kidding me. Wow. Dude, we are either living in a simulation or this is fixed. The Spurs, the Mavericks. Oh my God. You got to be kidding me. Wow. 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 1.8% chance. Wow. This is the craziest thing. Wow. Unbelievable. Everybody in the chat saying rigged. Mike says rigged. NBA is the WWE, says Steven. I mean, it feels like the WWE. Wow. Unbelievable. 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 Can you imagine if they traded number one for Giannis now? Can you imagine? Is Dallas a team that would trade the number one pick for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Giannis, AD front court. I'm just throwing the thought out there, chat. Do you think the Mavericks are a team that would or should trade the number one pick for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Nico was obsessed with trying to win a title and prove himself right. Could he be crazy enough to trade number one for Giannis? I say yes. I say yes, that he is crazy enough to do it. What do you guys say in the chat? Oh my God. Wow. I can't believe it. Alejandro says they trade number one for an injured player. Unbelievable. Taylor says this is definitely rigged. Ryan says I'm not watching the NBA anymore. I don't know, man. Look, look, Mavericks fans are obviously completely pissed off, but I would love to know how Mavericks fans are feeling right now. I would love to know. I would love to know how Mavericks fans are feeling right now, because like maybe this wins you back as a fan. Maybe this washes away some of the sorrows, but I don't think so, man. I think a lot of fans are turned off already. They've pivoted. Sean, you might be right. They might be pivoting to the Thunder at this point. So look, man, I'm not totally certain that Mavericks fans are going to be won over here. But hey, you know what? I think it's time for us to conduct our first round mock draft, starting with number one with the Dallas Mavericks, because, hey, you know what? Let's go through it. Let's talk about it. Let's go through these picks and talk about what these teams are going to be thinking about. And I want to interact with you guys as we go through this, because I'll tell you what, man, number one, Dallas Mavericks. I can't believe it. I can't believe this actually happened, that we're going to get Cooper Flagg to the freaking Dallas Mavericks, or they're going to end up trading him. But look, man, that's the big question. That's the number one question to me. Are the Mavericks going to be one of those teams that trades Cooper Flagg for Giannis Antetokounmpo? I don't think they have enough assets necessarily, in part because they didn't get enough back for Luka. That's the great irony here. But the number one pick is a hell of an asset, man. It is one hell of an asset for the Dallas Mavericks to float out there as a potential trade piece to go get Giannis. But ultimately, if they keep Cooper, if the Mavericks keep Cooper Flagg, he's somebody that can fit right in next to Anthony Davis. Once Kyrie Irving comes back, maybe he's able to help win over some fans. I think he's in a great situation there from a basketball standpoint, from a front office standpoint. I'm not totally certain. But I in some ways, though, here's the other side of it. I kind of feel bad for Cooper Flagg, because you're going to this fan base that just got its heart ripped out 3 months ago. And a lot of them have left the team. They don't ever want to go back to the team. They don't trust Nico Harrison. They don't trust ownership, Patrick Dumont. And now you're going there to that team. I think that's a tough situation for Cooper Flagg to have to deal with, man. And hopefully he's able to do it. But I feel bad for Cooper. I think there were better basketball fits for him. And look, like we were talking before the lottery was determined, nobody thought to even say Dallas is the team he would try to force his way out of. But I'll tell you what, man, if I were him, I'd think about it, depending on the direction of that franchise, because I think with two injury-prone stars, this might be a team that's actually going nowhere. But this gives Dallas a chance to go somewhere. But boy, it does feel fixed. I think everybody in the chat who's talking about how this feels fixed, well, of course it feels fixed. It feels fixed. It feels like a simulation. Of course it does. The whole Final Four sounds crazy. And so let's move on to the second pick in the draft lottery here. We got the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are in a very, very interesting spot here with the number 2 pick, because Dylan Harper is in all likelihood going to be the second pick in the draft. Even though San Antonio already has Stephon Castle, even though they just traded for De'Aaron Fox. So we have the Spurs at number 2. I have them taking Dylan Harper in my mock draft. But again, I'm not so certain the Spurs would be keeping Dylan Harper. I think there are a number of teams drafting behind San Antonio now, whether it's Utah or whether it's Washington or even a team like all the way back to Brooklyn at number 8. They might really want a point guard. They might really, really want a point guard. San Antonio does not need a point guard. So for them to be in this spot right now, I think it's a very interesting position to be in, because I do not think Dylan Harper is a great fit for the Spurs with Castle and Fox there. Too many questions about the reliability of his jumper. Too much overlap with skill sets as a downhill attacking guard. I think he'll be a really good guard in the NBA, but I don't love the fit for the Spurs. So 2 picks in, what's the conversation? Trades. That's already what we're talking about here, is trades with these teams that have went up top. And that will also be true with the next selection at number 3. The Philadelphia 76ers moved up 2 spots to the 3rd pick in the draft. They're in a position now where they get Joel Embiid injured. You got a team here where, you got Jared McCain, who might have been the rookie of the year last year. You got this situation where Tyrese Maxey is emerging, and this team is looking like pretty good if they're healthy. But if they're healthy is the biggest question in basketball with their situation. Can Joel Embiid stay healthy? So with the number 3 pick for them, I think if you're the Sixers, Ace Bailey's the safe choice here. I'd think about Trey Johnson, but there's a lot of overlap there with McCain and with Maxey. I think about Malawach, but 3 feels too high for him. I'll put Ace Bailey here at number 3 for now, because in theory, Ace Bailey, shot maker. He's got size at 6'9", 6'10". He's a great athlete. In theory, he fits next to Paul George, fits next to Joel Embiid and Maxey and McCain and all these guys. But like, the dude is so raw. He couldn't help Rutgers win games, So like, are we actually certain here that Ace Bailey is going to be somebody that the Sixers would want here at this selection? Because I'm not sold about that one bit at all about that. And ultimately, I think Philly is the 3rd team in a row here that you look at them and it's like, well, hey, like, they're probably going to be a trade team too. I hate going trade up top 3 in a row, but what other way is this going to go? Like, the Spurs are going to try to get Giannis. The Mavericks might try to get Giannis. The Sixers, I mean, they don't have enough assets necessarily for Giannis, but they'll go for it too. They might go for other stars. I'm not so certain Mavericks, Spurs, Sixers is going to be the top 3 come late June. I think we're going to see trades, a lot of trades. It reminds me so much of the year that the Celtics ended up with the number 1 pick and the Sixers ended up with the 3rd pick and the Lakers were 2nd. They got Lonzo there. It reminds me so much of that year because I had the same exact reaction then. I wrote and talked to my pod about this is going to be a trade down year. You're going to see Boston try to trade down. You're going to see teams that try to trade up into slots that make sense. And I think that's going to be the situation here with what we see involving Ace Bailey at number 3, Dylan Harper at number 2, and maybe Cooper Flagg at number 1. That's the biggest questionable one, is Ace Bailey at 3. But If you're Charlotte at 4, let's move on to that pick. I have VJ Edgecombe going to the Charlotte Hornets with the 4th pick. If you're Charlotte, you got LaMelo Ball. We know you get LaMelo. We know you don't really want Mark Williams. We know you have Brandon Miller. You get Miles Bridges. You have some talent there. But Edgecombe can slide right in. I have him compared to Christian Brown. He's like a 3-and-D type of foundation guy. Knockdown shooter, gritty defender. I believe in Edgecombe's shot. He made over 40% of his catch-and-shoot threes in high school. Only 34% at Baylor, but I think he's a better shooter than that. Great athlete, downhill attacker. He fits in with Charlotte's current roster. But again, if you're the Hornets, do you want to end up with VJ Edgecombe, or do you want to try to package some of your future assets and move up a spot or two with a team that doesn't need Dylan Harper or doesn't need Ace Bailey? To me, I think Charlotte is a potential trade-up team that is clear as day with the way this order fell out. And for them, I mean, dude, what a freaking loss, man. What a loss. Like, you don't get number 1 ever, and this year you fall down a couple of spot or one spot, and now you're not even in a position to get a point guard next to LaMelo Ball, another guy who can be a primary ball handler for you. It's just a major bummer for them, man. I feel bad for the Hornets, but I don't feel as bad for the Hornets as I do for the next 2 teams, because with the 5th pick, the Utah Jazz, damn, dude. Like, you did everything possible all year to tank. You even got fined $100,000, and you end up with the 5th pick in the draft. Maybe it is rigged. I got Con Knipple out of Duke going to the Utah Jazz, and boy, I mean, what a bummer, man. Con Knipple going to the Jazz. You know, I'm sure he'll fit right in with their existing core. I think he fits anywhere. Knipple's a good player. He's a knockdown shooter. He can move without the ball. He can handle a little bit. We saw him running in that game Cooper missed. A lot of pick and roll with Malawach. I think there's more skill with him than just like spot up guy. That's my impression with Knipple. And I'm curious for people watching us live right now on YouTube or on X or Facebook. For Utah, what do you do? Are you trying to like trade up here, or are you just taking Knipple? And I mean, hey, you get a good role player. Like maybe you have another Gordon Hayward. I just feel bad, man. Utah and Washington. Oh, God, man. Just, I don't know, man. It's just a bummer. I just feel crushed if this happened to me. If I were, I mean, I know how it feels. I was a Celtics fan like in 2007 when the Celtics were supposed to get KD or Odin, and then they ended up with like the 6th pick. But then they traded for Ray Allen and they traded for Kevin Garnett and they became champions. That's like unfathomable. It's not going to happen for the Jazz. Con Knipple, man. Whew, when you're hoping for Cooper Flag, oh boy. The number 6 pick for the Washington Wizards. Never imagined that it would get to this point for them. You know, you're thinking Cooper Flag for Washington. You're thinking maybe Dylan Harper as your point guard of the future. You're even thinking, hey, maybe we'll get Ace Bailey. Maybe Ace Bailey will be a star. Oh, you end up with Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson, I have him going to the Washington Wizards with the 6th pick. And Trey Johnson, I love Trey Johnson, the prospect. I don't love the fit here. I just don't know what other direction you're going if you're the Wizards. To me, Trey Johnson, you need scoring badly. Your team stinks at getting buckets. You're making some type of progress on defense. Trey Johnson has flashed some point guard ability on top of his scoring, but ultimately, this dude's a bucket getter. Maybe there's too much overlap here with Jordan Poole for him to go at number 6. But again, I did a mock draft on Yahoo Sports a few weeks ago, and I had the Wizards and Jazz falling, and I asked the question in that, who the hell is the great fit for these guys if it's a worst-case scenario? It's the same question now that it's actually a reality. Who is the best fit for these guys? Because I don't have a clear idea. I don't have a clear idea. And I think Trey Johnson is a high upside gamble for the Wizards. Obviously, that's not what you're hoping for if you're them. But ultimately, it's the direction I have them going. It's what they're going to have to end up thinking about here unless they're able to make a trade. But regardless, I just feel bad for the Wizards and I feel bad for the Pelicans. I mean, for the Wizards, for the Pelicans, for the Jazz. Like, it just sucks, man. You stink all year and you have all this hope. Like, there's pros and cons to the flat and lottery odds, man. Like, you still didn't win 20 games. Like, you didn't win 10 or 11 or 12 like the process Sixers, but it was an ugly year, and then you get rewarded like this. Kind of sucks, man. It's harder to get good again with these flattened odds. Let's move on to the number 7 pick in the draft, the New Orleans Pelicans. I have them taking Jeremiah Fears. I actually like the Fears pick for the Pelicans. This is one of the first selections where I feel like I can talk enthusiastically about the fit here. We saw Zion Williamson on stage for the Pelicans tonight. I don't know if that suggests anything, but in theory, you got Zion, you got Trey Murphy, you got Herb Jones, a bunch of big wing defenders and playmaker like Zion, creator like Zion. What you need is a point guard, and Jeremiah Fears is such a good creator, man. He hit 44.1% of his mid-range jumpers last season, 50% of his floaters, over 80% of his free throws. He only shot a 28.4% from three, but I think this guy, I'm a believer in his jumper. He measured small, he's still only 6'2", but ultimately he's not like a 5'11" guard. He's still got size. He's got strength. He's a great finisher around the basket. To me, a Jeremiah Fears, Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, yada, yada, yada core, that gets pretty interesting for New Orleans. It gets pretty interesting, a lot more promising than maybe you'd expect for a team that might feel some disappointment with where they're going to end up picking here. Let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets with the 8th pick in the draft, another team that went in with high expectations, Derek Queen. Derek Queen going to the Brooklyn Nets, our first true big here. For Brooklyn at number 8, they're in a position here where, look, I think the Nets are a clean slate. They have Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson under contract. That's what they got. Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson under contract. And now they have to draft some young players with their 5 top 36 picks. And ultimately, I think for them, Derek Queen presents the highest upside here. I know you already have Nick Claxton on the roster, but ultimately, I think Derek Queen, with what we saw from him at Maryland in the tournament, he is somebody who, look, man, shot creator, bucket getter, a guy who can create his own shot, brings a great energy and enthusiasm. For the Nets, I'm happy for them if they end up getting a guy like Derek Queen at number 8. But ultimately, you'd be hoping for number 1. But Queen is a good consolation prize. Just looking in at the chat, MVP says rigged. Everybody thinks it's rigged. Everybody thinks it's rigged. Sarah says, Kevin, as a Jazz fan, I'm absolutely sick right now. Yo, I don't have anything I can tell you to make you happier. I wish I could say something to make you happier. I'm sorry. It's a major bummer. It really sucks. Yeah, I have nothing I could say. I have nothing I could say. This sucks. It sucks. It really sucks. I have you getting Con Knippel in the draft in a year you're hoping to get his teammate Cooper Flagg. Let's move on to number 9 with the Toronto Raptors. They did not move up as expected. With the number 9 pick, I have them selecting Kaman Malawach out of Duke. This is our 3rd Duke prospect in 9 selections so far. So 3 of the top 9 have been Duke players. Malawach, look, you already got Jakob Poeltl there in Toronto as your big. He's not the long-term guy. Malawach is somebody who I think over the long term, this is a worthy gamble for them, for the Raptors. This is a team where he can learn and improve over the course of time. He's very raw. He had 0 rebounds in his final game at Duke as a 7'2" dude. But over the course of time, he's an elite finisher on the basket. As a lob threat, he's got soft touch. He shot over 70% at the rim. He's a good rim protector who got better over the course of the season. And he displays a little bit of switchability. I think he could be an enforcer for the Raptors in the years to come, even though Of course, you do have a big there. There are questions about his fit as a shooter, but ultimately I do like the fit with Malawach there at number 9. With the 10th pick, the Houston Rockets. This is an interesting spot here. For the 10th pick, I've got the Houston Rockets taking a guard, Kasparas Yakichonis. Yakichonis is somebody a lot of people have ranked in the 4 or 5 or 10 range. A lot of others have him closer to maybe the 11, 12, 13 range, which is where I have him. Yakichonis undeniably is somebody who can create his own shot. I have him compared to Goran Dragic in the draft guide. He's somebody who has those talents, but the turnovers, man, I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I think he had 11 games with more turnovers and made shots. And for Houston, you just drafted last year Reed Shepherd. You still have Fred VanVleet under contract. You got Jalen Green. To me, this is an upside swing. It's worth the gamble. Maybe it works out with Yakichonis. Maybe this is a situation here where he can learn, play on the bench like Reed Shepherd last year. And in the meantime, maybe, lean into his talents as a shooter off the catch. I think with him, he has a lot of improvements to make, but there's a lot to like with Yakichonis. Do we have any Rockets fans in the chat? Because the other side of the situation here is with him, Houston could still package this pick. They didn't end up top 4. San Antonio, Mavericks, these teams get an edge in the Giannis sweepstakes. But for the Rockets at number 10, with all of your future Suns picks that you have, it's still a valuable pick for them. Joseph says in the chat, Rockets are trading the pick. I would expect that as well. Ty Winter says we need a big. I would agree there. That's 100% true. But my question would be, which big you're drafting? Derek Queen's off the board. Malawach is off the board. What big are you actually going to be taking here? Maybe it would be the next selection here because at number 10 with the Portland Trailblazers, I got Colin Murray Boyles going to the Trailblazers at number 11. Murray Boyles is not a true big, but he is somebody who ultimately offers a lot of big man things. He basically measured nearly identical to what Draymond Green did over a decade ago at the NBA Draft Combine in terms of height, measure, like wingspan, weight, hand size. Everything is pretty much identical to Draymond Green. Murray Boyles, I am always very, very hesitant to compare anybody to Draymond Green. I think it's been overdone, especially in the mid-10s when Draymond Green was really on the up and up. But this is the first prospect I'm like, okay, limited shooter, but talented creator, talented attacker at the basket, and a super versatile defender. As the stats on screen say, this past season, South Carolina was 12.1 points per 100 possessions better on defense with Murray Boyles on the floor than they were without him. That's a massive difference. It was one of the biggest differences in all of college basketball. They stunk with him. They were solid with him because the supporting cast stunk. He's a great defender, talented offensive player. I think he's a high floor player. As MVP said, very high on Murray Boyles. I know a lot of people in the draft community love Murray Boyles. He is somebody that I think has a high floor. If he figures out the jumper, to me, he's the type of guy that could end up becoming a star in the years to come. Obviously, will a guy develop a jumper? Will he not develop a jumper? That's a big question. A lot of guys just don't ever develop their jump shots. That's just the reality of it. But for Murray Boyles, I think he is somebody that, hey, I like the touch. I like the finishing near the basket. I'm betting on him, not against him, is my gut feeling with Murray Boyles. Let's move on to the number 12 pick in our first round mock draft. We're going to go through the entire first round, 1 to 30. Going through it all. Number 12, Chicago Bulls. Got them taking Jace Richardson, one of my favorite prospects out of Michigan State. He measured only at 6 foot flat at the draft combine, but with a 6'6" wingspan. I'm very high on Jace Richardson. Is not surprised he measured at only 6 foot. I think this dude is the real deal. His feel for the game is elite. He shot almost 70% at the rim this past year. He's an elite shooter off the catch, off of movement, off the dribble. The dude is freaking awesome. He's just small. So like that naturally limits his upside. And for the Bulls in their situation at number 12, I think this is a best player available pick. I don't think you're necessarily going to go in any other direction just because you already have White in the backcourt. You have some other guards in your team. To me, I'm just taking the best player. And I think he's somebody that can play with other guards. It can work with other ball handlers, Giddey and White and everybody else on that Bulls team. I like the Jace Richardson pick. I'd be very, very happy if I was a Bulls fan and this is what ended up happening. Let's move on to number 13 with the Atlanta Hawks. I got them going international here with Noah Essengay. Essengay is somebody that I've kind of, wavered on a little bit with my ranking. I've had him as high as 7 or 8. I've had him as low as 17 or 18. Maybe he ends up somewhere in the middle where when I determine my board, I want to hear more about him intel-wise. My mistakes in the past with French prospects and, mistakes in the past in general have largely been to a lack of intel, a lack of understanding their personality and what makes them tick. And you guys know I'm talking about Killian when it comes to those French prospects. And with Noah Essengay, everything I've heard so far is positive. But there's more to learn. There's still a lot of time until the draft. But ultimately with him, for the Hawks at number 13, this feels like a worthy gamble. It follows the same philosophy as what they did with Risacher last year, getting a big, long arm, skilled forward to pair next to Trae Young in your existing core. So if you got Jalen Johnson and you got Risacher and all these wings on that team next to Trae, that's how you build a team around Trae Young. That's how you do it. And so with Essengay, I said this prior to the draft lottery, you never want to pull out the Giannis comp. And I'm not pulling out the Giannis comp. I have Nicholas Batum as the comparison for Essengay. But you never want to pull out the Giannis comp. But if you're going to pull out the Giannis comp, you might pull it out for the guy who's 6'9", 6'10", and just this fluid big mover with massive arms, who's got these freaky finishes around the basket. Maybe he ends up one of those guys in the mid-late first round that ends up a classic steal. That's where the comparison is. And so with Essengay, I think for Atlanta, this would be a great pick for them if they end up with him at number 13. Let's go to number 14 with the San Antonio Spurs. I got them taking Yegor Demon out of BYU. This is their second pick. Of course, I have them taking Dylan Harper with the second pick. And Demon here, another playmaking player at number 14. As I said earlier, I'm not convinced they're going to keep number 2, whether that's a trade for Giannis or whether that's trading down. I don't think Dylan Harper's a fit at 2. I do think Demon is an intriguing fit at 14. You already have Sohan, who does a similar type of thing. Shaky jumper. Maybe it's not the perfect fit next to Wemby in terms of floor spacing, but the idea of a big shot creator at 6'9", to me, there's something that makes a lot of sense there. I get Josh Giddey as the comp for Demon in the draft guide, and I think Giddey's progress over time as a shooter kind of shows the blueprint here for Demon. We know he can pass. We know he is somebody who does the little things as a screener, as a mover without the ball, as a defender, and as a rebounder. But can he create off the dribble? Can he turn the corner? Does he have speed, athleticism? Can he shoot jumpers? Those are big, pivotal questions. That's why I have him at 20 on my board and why I have him falling to number 14. But pre-draft workouts could do a lot for him with his draft stock. So that's all lottery so far. That's what we got for the top 14. That's what we learned about tonight. But we're going to finish out this first round right now. But before we do that, I do want to ask the chat, of these picks so far, who's the worst pick? Who's the best fit? What comes to mind? What stands out to you of these selections? Because to me, the number one thing on my mind is still trades. Like I look at the top 4 and I'm like, these teams don't make sense. Dallas with Cooper doesn't make sense. Dylan Harper to the Spurs doesn't make sense. Ace Bailey to the Sixers doesn't make sense. That's the way I feel. That's my number one feeling. And I know already we got Tom saying, what was the most rigged? I think it's a fair question, but ultimately it wasn't rigged. I've been in that room. It wasn't rigged. And I'm not just being an NBA spokesman saying that. Lester said, can Jace play point guard? Jace is a combo guard. He's one of those classic type of combo guard players. Goat Fred 69, nice, says Colin Murray Boyles will be a stud. I think there's a real chance of that too, man. I really do. I love Murray Boyles. Weston says, hey, Dallas, trade hey, Dallas, trade Luka to the Lakers, and we'll give you the number 1 pick. Wink, wink. Yeah, maybe that's what happened, but I don't think so. Yep, things have come full circle, beer. Ace at number 3 says, Buju, what has he done? Don't make sense. I agree. It doesn't make sense. Ace Bailey, I have kind of as a placeholder at number 3 on my big board. I expect that's going to change at some point. It's just a matter of figuring out who I want to put there, if that makes any sense. It could be Trey Johnson, could be Jeremiah Fears, could be somebody else. We'll see. Let's move on with the mock. Let's go to number 15. We're outside of the lottery now with number 15, Oklahoma City. Carter Bryant out of Arizona. Carter Bryant, to me, this is like a quintessential classic Oklahoma City Thunder pick because Carter Bryant is raw, but he's got size and he's got theoretical potential. This follows the Usman Jang, the Alexei Pokusevsky mindset, except with a little bit more certainty, a little bit more, because the end of the year with Carter Bryant in Arizona, his last, I think, 6 or 7 games, all of the conference tournament games, all of the NCAA tournament games, he shot like 45% from 3 on a higher volume. It felt like things were starting to click for him as a shooter, and he's always been a solid free throw shooter. So you're drafting an athlete who's a good cutter, who plays hard. He's got clear defensive upside at 6'8" with long arms. The question for me, and I have this in the draft guide, is he reminds me of Jeff Green in the sense that Kevin Garnett once said Jeff Green is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Obviously, that didn't happen, but the potential of Jeff Green was always obvious. So for OKC, are you drafting Jeff Green like a role player, or are you drafting a guy that indeed has that type of star upside? We won't know for years to come, but I do like Carter Bryant in this mid-first round, which is why I also have him ranked 18th. With the 16th pick, the Orlando Magic. Who are the Magic going to draft besides a shooter? That's why I have the Magic taking Liam McNeely out of UConn with the 16th pick here. I have McNeely ranked a lot lower on my personal big board just because he didn't shoot the ball well last year at UConn. I want to see how he does in pre-draft workouts. He made only 15% of his dribble jumpers last year. That includes 2s and 3s. But the dude was an elite shooter in high school, well over 40% on a high volume. He's a great mover without the ball. Maybe the lower 3-point percentage for him at the college level was merely due to his outsized role. He had to do more off the dribble than he was asked to do. He had to expend more energy as a creator than he would be asked to do for the Orlando Magic. So for the Magic at number 16, you got Banchero, you got Franz Wagner, you got Jalen Suggs. In theory, McNeely would be slotted right into the perfect role there with the Magic. So I feel good about this pick at 16. Like with McNeely, I have him 29th on my general board. I'd have him higher on my Orlando Magic board. You know what I'm saying there? So that's the way I think about this pick for the Magic. Let's move on to number 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Right now, of course, they're caught up in the middle of a series in the second round against the Golden State Warriors. And what a disappointment they had been entering game 4. They should be smacking this team without Stephen Curry. We're not able to react to that game tonight on my podcast because we're going to be publishing prior to its completion. But if they're not up 3-1 after tonight, I'll tell you what, they're going to lose the freaking series if they're not up 3-1 after game 4 tonight. With number 17, I have them taking Nick Clifford, one of my absolute favorite prospects in the entire draft. I love Nick Clifford, dude. I think this dude is a baller. I think he's underrated. To me, he is the type of guy that's going to come in right away and offer something to your team. He's tough. He plays hard on defense. He's versatile. He's a knockdown shooter at 39.3% this past season for Colorado State. He did not face a high-level competition, but he did well in the tournament for Colorado State. We saw them make a run. He looked great. We saw his passing ability. He made the go-ahead assist. Unfortunately, Colorado State lost. But ultimately, I think Nick Clifford is the type of guy that could go into Minnesota right away and earn minutes for that team. That's my impression for them. At 18, with the Washington Wizards, they're in an interesting spot here. I think after selecting earlier in the draft Trey Johnson, they got to be in a spot here where you see them go with a larger player. So for the Nets, for the Wizards at the 18th pick, I have them taking Asa Newell. Asa Newell is somebody that at this selection for them fits. He fits next to Alex Sarr. He fits next to Trey Johnson, who I had them taking with the 6th selection. He's versatile. He's a good rebounder. He's a great finisher. I think Asa Newell is going to be a really good player in the NBA, and he could be a great player if the shot improves. He made only 29.8% of his three-pointers last year in college, but ultimately he's got some touch. He shows flashes of being able to hit shots. If he has everything else, he feels safe. If the shot develops, he has a chance to be great, not just very good. With the 19th pick, the Brooklyn Nets, this is their second of 5 picks in the top 36. I'd imagine they're going to consolidate. At number 19, I have them taking Nolan Traore, a French guard. This is their second pick here. They got Derek Queen in the lottery. Traore here. Traore might not make it to number 19 because this dude is fast on the rise for his team overseas in France. This dude is crushing recently. He has shot over 80% from the free throw line over his last 10 games. He has shot over 40% from the three-point line over his last 6 games. And that's not a lot of games, but it spans over multiple months because of the nature of the schedule overseas. He's the quickest player in the draft. He reminds me so much of DeJounte Murray when he came out of Washington. DeJounte Murray, if you pulled up his shot chart at the time, it was like blood red every single zone. And then he figured out how to shoot, and he became a pretty good player. Traore, same thing until recently. If he is indeed figuring out his shot, he is not going to last the number 19. He has too much upside. Too much upside because of his speed, because of his athleticism, his ability to create. Even though he's a French player, he kind of plays like an American with just the shiftiness and the handle that he has. Clearly, those are the players that he watched and modeled his game after, not like Tony Parker. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a type of guy that feels like he plays like an American for good or bad reasons. Maybe you don't like that. But Traore, I have him going 19 to the Brooklyn Nets. At number 20, got Noah Penda going to the Miami Heat at number 20. Hey, JM in the chat real quick asked, number 1 and number 2 picks were rigged. Spurs number 2 is suspect. Appreciate the super chat over on YouTube. I don't think it was rigged, even though those top 2 picks, JM, seem very, very, very suspicious. I know they do, but I don't think it was rigged. At number 20, Noah Penda to the Miami Heat. Pat Riley recently said 80 is the new 60, that he's not retiring anytime soon. You know what that means? The Heat aren't wasting time. They're going to keep trying to win games. They're going to try to make trades, and they're going to draft players who they feel can contribute right away. Noah Penda reminds me of Boris Diaw. He's got like the same exact dimensions with his size and length and weight and beef on his frame, very big boned like Boris Diaw. And the style is similar as well. He's a good playmaker, a good creator, a good connective piece. He keeps the ball moving. He plays his ass off. I love Noah Penda. I think if the shot were more reliable, I'd have him higher. I have him at 29 right now on my big board. I want to have him higher. I just can't get there without the reliable jumper. He's a below 70% guy from the free throw line, a below 30% guy from 3-point range. So like without the jumper, it's hard to earn quality minutes in the NBA. And we're seeing that in the playoffs, man. Like you see with OKC, like Lou Dort's a 40% guy during the season, and then he falls off a cliff in the postseason. Sometimes there's guys that are real shooters and fake shooters, and those fake shooters end up losing minutes no matter how many other good things they bring you. And so that's where my hesitation is with Penda. But ultimately, I think he brings enough good qualities that for the Miami Heat, he'd bring a lot of appeal there. At number 21, the Utah Jazz. Once again, Jazz fans, I am very sorry. This is a horrible night. If you're still in this chat and you're a Jazz fan, I hope this is making you happier. I hope. I hope, feeling with the draft community, I hope you're feeling happier, but I can't imagine it is. At number 21, I have the Jazz taking Will Riley. They got Knipple earlier at number 5, Will Riley at number 21. This is a swing. That's what this is. You're swinging for upside here. Will Riley, great athlete. He's a passer at 6'8" as well. He's got some skill off the dribble. I love his driving ability. Can he shoot? That's the big question for him. He made only 32.6% of his threes his freshman year at Illinois. He's never been a great touch player. So for them, he's a project. You're drafting hoping that he's somebody that over the course of time can figure out the shot because he's got everything else. But I'm not totally sold on Will Riley. A lot of people in the draft community are far higher on him than I am. This next guy at number 22 with the Atlanta Hawks at the 22nd pick, I've got them taking Cedric Coward. Coward is one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft class. To me, this guy is going to rise fast, especially this week at the draft combine. He measured at 6'5" without shoes. So that makes him close to 6'7" with shoes and a 7'2" wingspan. This is a guy who played at a D3 and then he transferred to a low major and then he transferred to a mid major and then he got an opportunity at Duke. He's not going to go to Duke. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. I'd be shocked if he goes to Duke, and I have the Atlanta Hawks taking him at 22. I don't know if he's going to make it here, but for Atlanta, if he does, he fits what makes sense for them. Knockdown shooter, versatile defender, keeps the ball moving, knows his role. But the reason why I think he'll rise is because of the flashes off the dribble. I don't want to use, superstar comps too often. I have OG Anunoby in the draft guide because we know what OG does. Role player stuff. Hit, stop, knock down threes. He's attacks closeouts. He is somebody who defends multiple positions. But he also sometimes does a lot as a scorer. That's why OG received Kawhi Leonard comparisons prior to his draft. Cedric Coward, if you watch the way this dude handles the ball, it looks like so much like Kawhi Leonard out of San Diego State. The long-ass arms, the fluidity pulling up from mid-range with economical movements. Coward, to me, has potential to end up in the top 10 or at least in the lottery when it's all said and done. So Cedric Coward at 22, this might look silly in the weeks or months ahead. But at number 22, that's where we have him for now, ahead of draft combine week. Number 23, Indiana Pacers, Maxime Renaud. French big man out of Stanford, one of the smartest players, of course, in the draft class. I love Renaud. I have him 15th on my board, borderline lottery guy. He's a skilled guy. Boxes out, does all the little things as a big man. Boxes out, rebounds, makes smart passes. The size with his finishing at the rim, we know he can do these things. We know he can protect the rim. Where the intrigue is the way Stanford used him. He's a mover without the ball. They would run him off of screens as a shooter or kind of slingshotting him towards the basket. 23 to me is too low. That is steal territory for the Indiana Pacers. And for them, it would make a lot of sense if he ends up there. Miles Turner is going to be a free agent this offseason. Even if you keep him, your other bigs, Thomas Bryant, Jackson, they're also free agents. Renaud could be your backup to Miles Turner. And he has enough skill that he could play with Miles Turner as well for that team moving forward. And number 24, Oklahoma City. I got Yaxel Lendenborg. This is a draft community favorite right here. Yaxel. We'll see if he ends up staying in the draft here. We'll see if he does. Yaxel is a dude who just fills up the stat sheet. You see the stats on screen. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks per game. The dude did it all for UAB last year. Like I say, in the draft guide, he plays like Paolo Banchero in college. Maybe you want him to end up more like Tari Eason in the NBA. That's the big question with him. How will he adapt with a lesser role? If you're OKC at the 24th pick, who cares? You're swinging, man. You almost want the star upside result, and you'll let him grow as a role player. So if he falls all the way to 24, and if he stays in the draft rather than going to Michigan, where he can go and fill the Danny Wolf role. To me, if I'm him and I get promised by Oklahoma City at number 24, I'm going into the draft. To me, that's a perfect situation here. For a lot of people in the chat, a lot of you guys are talking about how this is fixed. I'm seeing that LeBron James himself, at King James, posted on X a series of 9 crying emojis in a row reacting to the draft lottery. Very clearly, LeBron feels the same exact way as all of you do. I mean, says it all. LeBron is thinking this is fixed as well. Didn't he also already hint that he thought the 03 draft was probably fixed too? Didn't he say something to the effect of that? Like, how does Cleveland end up with the number 1 pick in the year that the kid from Akron, this all-time great prospect, is in the draft? Like I said, either we are in a simulation or the draft is rigged. One of the two are the only potential reasons here for how these things are actually happening. You know, that's just the reality here. All right, so we are at number 24 with Oklahoma City. I appreciate you guys all being in the chat today and sticking through with this mock draft. This is fun going through live. Let's go with Orlando here at number 25. Next pick, Tahad Pettiford. I get them taking another guard, another shooter out of Auburn. They took McNeely with the 16th pick. Pettiford makes some sense here. Pettiford, I think you can pair him with Suggs in that backcourt. He can work with 2-man actions with Banchero and Wagner. It just feels like a natural fit to me. I love Pettiford's game. I have him a little lower than I did prior to Auburn's departure in the tournament. He is also only testing the waters, but he's a knockdown shooter, 39% from 3. He's got the offhand floater, Mike Conley. At a minimum, this is somebody who I think can come off the bench for your team and make a positive contribution. But for Orlando, naturally, you're hoping for the higher upside result than just bench microwave scorer. But Pettiford, to me, if he interviews well, if he plays well in the scrimmages, if he works out well, he'll probably move right back up into the teens on my board. But for now, I have him at 28 on my big board and only number 25 in this mock draft right now. And number 26, we get 2 back-to-back picks here for the Brooklyn Nets. And number 26, I've got Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf is a guy that I'm not quite as high on as a lot of people in the draft community. I like Danny Wolf. I appreciate Danny Wolf. He's a big 7-foot white dude who passes the ball like he's from the 1960s, and he takes step back jumpers like a modern player. But the dude can't shoot. He can't shoot. He's like a borderline hackable free throw shooter. He shoots around 30% from 3. He was like that at Yale. He was like that at Michigan. I have very little reason to believe that he is like substance and not just flair. That's my question with him. Like, where's the substance with Danny Wolf? I'm not a believer in him in the same way that a lot of people are. Maybe in pre-draft workouts, maybe in an NBA setting, he'll end up shooting the ball better. But, man, I'll tell you what, dude. I can't get there with Danny Wolf in the same way that a lot of people are. But for the Nets, like a young team, clean slate, like it makes sense. Take a swing. Maybe it all works out. To me, that makes sense for them. And similar logic for them with their next pick. I got Ben Sahaf going to them with the 27th pick. This is their 4th pick. This makes a little sense in multiple ways here. Are the Nets really going to keep all 4 first-round picks? Is that really going to happen? I'm skeptical here. This dude's interesting because he wears number 77. Like, who else wears number 77? Luka. He's not Luka. But like the way he stops and goes on drives to the basket is very Luka-esque. The way he decelerates is very Luka-esque. I have him more of a D'Angelo Russell type of player, crafty, lefty type of guy, poised in pick and rolls, needs to prove he can shoot, at a high level like D'Lo, who's very streaky. But I do like this pick for the Nets because maybe they draft and stash him. Maybe they consolidate these picks. Number 28, we got the Boston Celtics. They are currently, as we do this mock, in the middle of the second quarter, up 39-28 on the New York Knicks, shooting 60% from 3, 9 of 15. Wow. So they've turned it around. They've taken 15 of 20 shots from three so far. I've not watched a lick of that game. I will when I catch up after we get off of this. But at number 28, I've got the Boston Celtics taking Thomas Sorber. Sorber missed the end of his season at Georgetown as a freshman because of an injury. But ultimately, this dude, the Celtics need bigs. Porzingis, not reliable. Horford, 70 years old. They need to draft a young big. Sorber makes a lot of sense. He's the guy who can do a lot of throwback stuff as a traditional big, post-scoring, at-rim finishing, rim protection, and he's got passing that I think would help him fit into that Boston offense as well. Number 29, he's still on the board. The hero of March Madness. Let's go with Walter Clayton with the 29th pick to the Phoenix Suns. He's got to go somewhere. I've had a hard time finding a good fit for him. Walter Clayton to the Suns at number 29. Not the best fit next to Devin Booker in the backcourt, but they need more scoring. They need a guy who can generate shots in that backcourt. If you're going to get rid of Bradley Beal, if you're going to trade Kevin Durant, Walter Clayton makes some sense as a spark for that team. We know he can shoot from everywhere. Makes a lot of sense for them. And plus, like Booker, he can play with and without the ball. So that's the 29th pick. Final pick in the first round is the Los Angeles Clippers at number 30. Disappointing end to the season for them. Hopefully this pick would be good for the Clippers and help them out. I got Rasheer Fleming going to number 30, LA Clippers. Fleming did not have a great end to his season and his college career as well at St. Joseph's, but there's just so much to like with him. Knockdown shooter off the catch, attacks closeouts, makes the right play, active on defense. He's a good switchable defender. To me, he's an upgrade over Ben Simmons because Simmons might provide the creation. He does not provide the shooting or the scoring. That's where Fleming can help fill some gaps for that team, for the Clippers in the end of the first round here. Woo! Wow. Guys, that was crazy. Let's pull up the full first round on screen here. I'll tell you what, man. Look, like I said, number one takeaway here, there's got to be some trades here. There's got to be some trades. Dallas at 1, Dylan Harper at 2 to the Spurs, Ace Bailey at 3 to the Sixers. I don't think these are great fits. I don't think they make a lot of sense. I think we're going to see trades. I think it's going to be a lot of the discourse in the weeks to come, guys. That's my expectation. We're going to see a lot of trade talk, a lot of trade reports, and ultimately, someone else could end up with number 1, number 2, or number 3. Maybe it's the Bucks. Maybe it's the Jazz. Maybe it's the Wizards. Who knows who could move up? But to me, this is that type of year. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be recording my podcast tonight after the Celtics-Knicks game with Tom Haberstroh. We're going to be recapping the draft lottery with our biggest takeaways. We're going to talk about the Celtics and the Knicks and some of the other series happening around the playoffs as well. But boy, what a shocker of a night in the draft lottery. I am still in shock. I cannot believe it. And I know you guys cannot as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please give us a like and a thumbs up. It really does help us out. Enjoy the rest of your night, y'all. And stay tuned on Yahoo Sports for all of our draft coverage in the weeks and months to come.